There's some days I wake up and I do this and I think to myself, this is fucking stupid. But if you've signed up for a race and you have a goal in mind, you just put in the work. This is episode 2 of a new block working towards a sub 3:10 marathon at Twin Cities this fall. And if you're new here, welcome. But also, I wouldn't blame you if you turned back now. Like I said, this whole thing is stupid. At least with a run club, there's a chance you'll meet a baddie, the future mother or father of your children. With this, we're moving way too fast for those horny nerds. These are 10 habits of highly successful marathoners. Welcome back to another episode. It's been a full week of training alongside the programming of Eric Floberg, 12 weeks out from Twin Cities Marathon. It's been a really chill week of running. I did a really brutal leg day on Sunday. So I've been kind of running kind of heavy, but I'm glad I did it because when you train legs, it sort of forces you to stay not injured. You don't overextend yourself. Whereas for some periods of time with my training, I would go for weeks without hitting legs and I'd be very springy, but I could tell that something in me was weakening. Maybe my ligaments and tendons were becoming weak. And so I'm glad I hit legs really hard right before I started training with Eric because it forced me to slow down a little bit. And someone who is, I think, as ambitious with running as me, it's probably good to be held back a bit because the one thing that'll, ruin any progress and undo anything that you've worked towards is injury. And I've been fortunate in the sense that I've never been injured yet. So, hey, it's been a great first week working with Eric. That being said, in this video, I want to talk about 10 habits of highly successful marathoner. Now, to be fair, these are tips that I've made up. Okay, I'm too fucking swag to read a book about running, but that's not true. I'll read the damn book. But still, I think a lot of this advice is advice that I kind of want to hear in myself even, and so that's what I want to cover in this video. 10 habits of highly successful marathoners. The first habit is this: go to sleep by 11 p.m. every night. In fact, if you could go to sleep even sooner, by 10 p.m., that would be even sharper, but I just find often going to sleep that early is a struggle for me. Around the time of sleep is when I become the most reflective and the most geared up to move on with my day, to keep going with my day. I wish I could just hit a button and it's morning again and then I can just go, honestly, just go run. And so that being said, sleeping early has anabolic and hormonal benefits. According to Sean Stevenson, who wrote this book, Sleep Smarter, I'd read it some time ago, he calls the hours between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. money time sleep. That's where you're most likely to fall into deep sleep. Of your 3 different kinds of sleep that you have, deep, REM, and light, deep and REM are the most valuable. That's so much of your recovery happens during deep sleep. Deep sleep tends to cap out at around 2 hours. In the first 4 hours of sleeping, you sort of alternate between deep and light, deep light, deep light. And most people, we don't do any of our rapid eye movement sleep until later, the 2 to 3 hours before waking. So in a great night's sleep, you could get up to 2 hours of deep sleep and maybe at most 2 hours and 20 minutes of REM sleep. Even if you're in bed for 9 hours, if you don't get that deep sleep and that REM sleep, that freshness will not be there. And on the other end, if you sleep only 6 hours, but you get plenty of deep sleep and plenty of REM sleep, something like 100 minutes of deep sleep and 100 minutes of REM sleep, even in those 6 hours, you'll actually be pretty solidly recovered. Your readiness will be relatively high. So your best bet at getting the most amount of deep sleep and REM sleep is to sleep earlier. And then in the morning, ideally you don't rush out of bed. You kind of slowly emerge out of bed, because those last 40 minutes of sleep where, you maybe if you're really going full blown recovery, that's when you're going to do the most amount of dreaming. It's we sort of wake up with our dreams. You're doing rapid eye movement right at the end of it. So you want to put yourself in a position where you're getting as much recovery as possible. And what is sleep but the most important recovery tool there is? No amount of 2 before blackcurrant or any gel, any supplement, right, will do fuck all compared to sleeping enough. It's the foundational thing for all results, and especially from running. For your body to absorb the results of your training, you got to get that sleep. So that's actually probably the number one habit of a successful marathoner that's most important. Aside from, I suppose, following a program, but that's not one of the 10 tips on here. If you need someone to tell you to follow a program, you're a fucking idiot. That part goes without saying, all right? Follow a damn program. Number 2, lift weights 3 to 4 days a week, including doing leg days. The reason for this is not just aesthetics, although I think maintaining some amount of muscle mass and aesthetics and presentation is good as a runner. It feels nice, when I'm in my powerlifting gym, I'm like maybe one of the smaller guys there at 6 feet tall and around 170, 168 pounds. But in the running community, I'm actually a pretty good size. And that's actually, it's just like superficially, it's a good feeling actually. So, but aside from that, even just for performance, lifting has two huge benefits. One, especially if you do leg day, it increases growth hormone. Like your hormonal levels, you become more anabolic. Your body like knows what to do with the calories that you feed it more, because like muscle stimulates power also. So if you do a leg day, or even if you do upper body work, it just puts you in a position where you generate more power. Now, thickening up, putting on mass, yes, theoretically, it has a slowing effect. There's a reason why Eliud Kipchoge only weighs 115 pounds and all the best marathon runners in the world are light. But having some amount of muscle mass on you, it puts you in a position where you generate more power per impact, and it prevents injury. To work your lower body, to work your ligaments and tendons, just to make sure that they stay healthy and strong, it prevents injury. And so lifting 3 to 4 days a week is very important. My lower body split includes Bulgarian split squats, goblet squats. I sort of stay away from barbell back squats now, just because I don't want the central nervous system strain of my leg day to be very high. I want to save that for my long runs and my tempo runs and interval training. But I do a lot of like single leg movements as well, because running is a unilateral effort. So a lot of Bulgarian split squats, leg extensions and hip thrusts and hamstring curls, just like standard bodybuilder style training, and also some deadlifts. Now with deadlifts, I focus more on low rep ranges and high power generation. So I just like doing deadlifts for sets of 3 sets of 5 reps. It's not enough to like actually cause a ton of muscle soreness, at least not over the long haul. But your ability to generate power, stimulate more testosterone production or growth hormone production, it will certainly keep you very robust and kind of virulent in your training. So do not neglect lifting. And overall, just for like longevity and health, it's good to have muscle on you. Idea number 3, complete your runs first thing in the morning. And just eat light, but run early in the morning. Make it the first thing you do. So for me, it does take me about an hour or so for my body to wake up. But these days, this episode is being filmed in July. It's the dog days of summer, man. It's gonna be 86 degrees, 91 degrees in the middle of the day. And not only that, I do my training here in Minneapolis and Minnesota. There's a lot of rivers and creeks and lakes. It's breeding ground for humidity and mosquitoes. It's a very strange feeling. It's mucky out there sometimes. Even randomly, you'll notice it starts thunderstorming for like 10 minutes. The sky just, drops a bunch of water, humidity, floods the streets, and then it stops raining. It's very strange. It's really gorgeous in its own special way, but you find yourself sweating at high noon and just feeling kind of mucky and humid. And so if you're going for more, trying to hit certain paces and stuff, it's best to wake up early and hit your training early. So Saturday's coming up. It's my first kind of long run of this block. For the first time all summer, I'll probably be waking up at 5 a.m. And the goal is just to have an espresso, get the body moving a little bit, just to spend an hour getting warm. And then by 6:30, get out the door. It's just a 10 miler, but I'm gonna go for around, 7:30 pace on that 10 miler anyway. So just get it done early, and you'll find that in general, during the summer months, long runs should happen as early as possible. Or alternatively, I have experimented a little bit with late night running, like starting the run at 9:30. Hell, even 10 o'clock, just because I'm a strange man and I don't have a day job. So there's things I can get away with. But generally speaking, I find early is better. Even if you wake up really early and go back to sleep afterwards just to catch up on sleep a bit, it's better to run super, super early. And it primes you well for the marathon as well, because most of our marathons, they begin at 5:30 a.m., 6 a.m., 7:30. So it's good to like train your body to get up early during a block. And getting up early, you just feel like a badass anyway. Idea number 4, ice baths after harder efforts and naps after long runs to become psychologically refreshed. These are very good. So on harder efforts, now that I do more tempo runs, interval training, I'm hitting that pavement extremely hard. That's something I hear. Sometimes when I forget my headphones, it's not so much that I mind training without headphones, but it kind of fucks me up a little bit to hear how hard my feet are hitting the ground, especially if you do runs in like the Alpha Fly 3s, which I do some of my running in the Alpha Fly 3s. Well, I know there's like you're wearing a $300 shoe for training run, but it's my money, all right? Fuck off. But you hear how much sound that makes, like it kind of scares you. You're like, oh my God, what am I doing? I'm obliterating my legs for no reason. And so you need a way after harder efforts to just heal the mind and to heal the legs. So after a tempo run, like after this Saturday's 10-mile tempo run, I can't believe I'm doing these, but yeah, I go back to the ice bath club that's near my favorite running trail. It's called Embrace North. I'm not in there, look, doing 3 rounds of sauna, 20 minutes each, you know, like masturbating quietly in between sessions and then just getting in the ice bath and putting up an Instagram story. I literally show up, get in the ice bath, go to the sauna for a couple minutes, get in the ice bath again, and get out. 7 minutes in and out. I'm not there to make friends, bro. I'm here to murder people. But god damn it, the ice bath does help, dude. It helps. What can I say? It helps. All right, so I've been going 2 or 3 times a week now. But seriously, for me, it's 7 minutes. By the time, you know, that random fat dude has finished like crying about his mom and like about how his uncle touched him one time, by the time he's like gearing up, he finished like sweating for the first time to get in the tub, I'm already out the door. I don't even put my shirt back on. I just go out the door. I get in my car, I just put the towel in the car seat, I start driving home. Because, you know, I want to live, goddammit. I don't want to sit in an ice bath all day. The other thing is naps. Now, these I try to reserve more so after like a plus 15-mile effort. But if you're running 15 miles or 20 miles at harder paces, so for me, you know, my next effort, I'm going to try 20 miles at 7:35 pace. I know that that's going to psychologically wreck me. Sometimes strange things happen to me on a long run. Like I'll randomly think about people I've hurt or people who have hurt or betrayed me. Or I'll think about my mom or like how we don't have a, you know, great relationship. Weird stuff comes up and I'll randomly just start crying in the middle of a run. It sounds kind of strange to say that, but anyone who's really, really pushed themselves in running, you would know that strange emotions come up on these runs. You're thinking about life, thinking about how you're showing up in the world, thinking about women. So I find that you get really psychologically damaged after long runs at hard efforts. So I just take a nap afterwards. In fact, what I often do is come home, have some grass-fed ground beef. That's kind of my main protein source, that and chicken. And then it's almost like I intuitively know that I need more micronutrients. So I'll actually like put a bunch of kale in hot water, just like raw kale, like dark leafy greens, and a bunch of oranges, because the kale is very bitter by itself. So it's just kale and oranges. I'll down those after a long run alongside some grass-fed beef and eggs, and then I'll take a nap. And if I push myself really, really hard, I will sleep for like 90 minutes. And it's good because it brings you back in the game. You know, most of us, we do our long runs on like Saturdays or Sundays. So that's like time that you spend with family or friends or whatnot. So if you get up, you get that hard effort in early, you feel really great about it, but you're also just a little bit like out of sorts. And then you come, eat some nutrients that your body needs and take a nap. That was a long conversation about like 2 principles that I've amalgamated together. But basically a good marathoner will prioritize their recovery during longer or harder efforts. So that for me is ice baths, especially on tempo runs. Anything less than 10 miles, that's kind of like ice bath territory. I don't really try to take ice baths after a 20-mile run because I've already like destroyed myself psychologically, so I don't need to add more stress in my life, like psychological stress. It is kind of mentally taxing to get in an ice bath unless you're really, really used to it, in which case you're a nerd. But yeah, so it's like ice baths after those 10-mile tempo runs. You know, I spent an hour, 70 minutes out on the road, ice bath. If I did a 20-mile long run, if I was on my feet for like 2.5 hours, I don't bother with the ice bath. I just try to get home, eat some good food, and like sleep for an hour. And that just gets you back in the game. You should try it. You sort of feel like kind of cowardly for sleeping after a run, but it just refreshes you and you absorb that training so well. I think it's very, very beneficial. Even Eliud Kipchoge, most of his training program is he'll wake up, he'll run, he'll eat lunch and take a nap. I think many days a week he takes a nap and then he'll go out and do a second run like most days. So like naps can fuel a lot of recovery. They can help you like recover from some of that impact. You just feel so much better after them. But the way I work, I try to save them for harder efforts. Idea number 5, simplify your life. Simply do less. Look at some of your other goals and cut them out. This feels kind of rough for me to say, but I'd been looking into training for an Ironman 73. And I took around 10 swim lessons, and I still have a handful of swimming lessons to go. The truth is I never learned to swim growing up, so it was like a brand new effort for me, a brand new discipline. And swimming is so technical. I've been struggling with it a lot. I've certainly made progress on it these last 2 months, but it's been holding me back. So I still show up to the pool once in a while, probably like 1 or 2 times a week. But I've been debating pulling back on it, and in fact pulling back on some of my other goals as well, just to simplify my life and leave more room for the marathon. Because if I had to decide, marathoning is my main sport. It is my main effort. Even above bodybuilding, I have varied interests. I wasn't really into boxing for a while, even adventure sports, motorcycling, skydiving. For a while there, we were looking into like motorcycle racing or racing on the track. But the truth is, you will perform better and you will do better putting less on your plate. So if I had to, break down like what is most important in my life, the one I suppose is my financial health. So there's just, like business is business, and also its impact. Money is very correlated with impact. So I can't feel good about my life if business isn't going well. So it has to be a dedicated effort. It has to be like a frontier of life that you're really pushing on. So that's one of my 3 goals. Now, what do I have? What can I do with the rest? I can train for a marathon, or I can train for an Ironman, or I can try to put on 5 to 10 pounds of muscle. But I can't fit all of those in, especially some of those goals are antagonistic to each other. So if I had to pick, it would be the marathon, like hitting sub 310 in the fall. I would rather just do that one thing decisively well rather than hit the Ironman 2 and then run a sub 320 or 325 and just like not really, I want a whole ass one thing, not half ass 2 things. So simplify your life. The truth is, a lot of us invite a lot of inefficiency into our life because we feel like we need to do more. And on a day-to-day basis, you feel as if you don't have as much to say, maybe even, because it's like, I'm only working on a couple of things. I'm working on the company. Lately for me, I've been studying Apex and trying to get back into like a Salesforce career. And then it's like marathoning, girlfriend, or just like my relationships in general. So I realized my 3rd goal, it has to be like keeping my relationship strong, like really investing in my girlfriend, eventually working towards building family. For a lot of people, that final goal is like family. It's annoying, man. If like 2 of your goals are business and family, it only gives you 1 goal to basically have as the thing for you. And you have to decide. So if marathoning and hitting PRs is important in this season of your life, look at all the bullshit that you're doing and cut some of it out. Truth is, a lot of us have a lot of addictions, addictions to different forms of novelty and dopamine. And sometimes it's difficult to live a simple life, but there's a lot of nobility in it. And there's a profound amount of progress in living simply. Idea number 6, higher on protein, higher on carbs, and eat clean even after longer efforts. A lot of people, when I first got into powerlifting especially, and then when I first started doing I did my first 12-mile run, 15-mile run. It was really a strange period of my life. This is 2022. I would literally deadlift like 4 plates. I'd deadlift 400 pounds and then go run 12 miles and then just eat a bunch of candy. And I could get away with it a bit, right? Because I was training really hard and I was trying to get stronger. I was trying to do 2 things at once. So you're doing a multitude of efforts. But the thing is, life is better when you eat clean. And so higher on protein, higher on carbs. I eat extremely clean. My protein sources consist of grass-fed ground beef, lean chicken, just grilled chicken, Greek yogurt. That about sums it up. Eggs, egg whites, cottage cheese, that's about it. That's all my protein sources. I don't take any protein powder. I don't want to give up any calories to protein powder. Then you got carbs, right? My carb sources are literally fruit, white rice, and sweet potatoes. I don't even eat bread. Some steel-cut oats have now made it into my diet. Gluten-free steel-cut oats. But I try to eat super clean. And with running, carbohydrates are your primary fuel source. You want to center those carbs around your training. And so that's advice number 6. Eat as clean as possible. It'll make a difference, make a huge difference. Number 7, blueberry, kale, banana smoothies. You want to load up on the micronutrients. Micronutrients have a subtle but powerful effect. This blueberry smoothie that I started making is with wild blueberries, some rolled oats that I just put in raw. Maybe I'll soak them overnight in the future, but I just tend to eat them raw. And then you got just some random fruits that I put in, some banana, like a mix of chia and hemp seeds, some Greek yogurt and creatine. Having these micronutrient loaded smoothies centered around your workout. I have supplements like Morton gels and G1M Sports. So I have like those carb mixes, and that's all well and fine. I even have mixes like 2 Before Black Currant, which is like sort of like this caffeinated black currant powder. They're all fine. The supplements are all fine, but anything in powder form is not going to hit as hard. So I found wild blueberries are a fantastic source of nutrition pre and post run, and just literally the antioxidants in those foods, also with the rolled oats, is just, it makes you faster. It makes you faster. I strongly suspect that blueberries and oats, they make you faster. And then when you let your carbs and your natural sugars come from things like bananas, I even put half an avocado in there. I can show how I make my blueberry smoothie in an upcoming episode. But the blueberry smoothie, it makes a huge difference. Basically, these last two principles are all about nutrition. Eat as clean as possible, like monk-like discipline with your diet. Just because you can get away with pizza and you can call it carb loading, or you can eat a bunch of pasta and you can call it carb loading, just because you can get away with it doesn't mean you should. Like, you should try to eat as clean as possible and see what results that gets you. Number 8, spend time with other runners. Join a run club, make friends with those pursuing a similar effort. So I'll be heading to New York very soon here to check out Eric Floberg's premiere of his documentary that he's been working on for the last 2.5 years called Moving Still. Literally going in, dropping in for a day, and heading out. But it's good to be in the mix of other runners because somehow they can just do a reset in your mind of what is possible as a runner. A few weeks ago, I ran Grano's Marathon, and I immediately made friends with a handful of runners while getting a morning coffee. It was a delightful exchange because the slowest person in their crew was running a sub 250 marathon that day. So they're just running extremely fast, and it just does a reset for you on what is possible. To be around other runners, to talk paces, to talk strategy, to absorb some of their mindset, it's extremely powerful, it's extremely useful, and it's something that is worth looking into. Otherwise, it can be a strangely, you realize how weird the endeavor is and how weird the effort is when you run by yourself all the time. And it's just more fun. I've started doing some easy runs with just people I've met out in the field. It's just fun to be able to chat with people. You even run taller, you run faster, you feel better about your training. And it's really good for you to have that sense of community. It's something that I'm really working hard to invest in more, which is why I'm even bothering to take this trip to New York City. Number 9, keep your spaces very clean, including keeping your kitchen clean. Stay on top of your laundry and dress well for runs. This runner I follow, Tommy Newell, he got a fresh haircut before his race. So it's good to look as good as possible, to be as fresh as possible. And it sounds strange, right? But when you look the part and you feel strong in your appearance even, you pick out the kit that matters. I think investing in athleisure that you feel attractive and strong in, and having the shoes line up, it is an expense, of course, and some might call it an unnecessary expense, but looking the part makes you want to run faster. If you feel cool and good in your appearance while training, it makes you want to run faster, it makes you want to do more. So that's my 9th tip. Keep your spaces clean and stay on top of your fits. Lay out those clothes and run. And then the last idea here is make running content, which is a little bit meta because I've just started up this training channel and I'm starting to take it more seriously. But making running content, it internalizes a feeling of authority. You start to act like a pro even if you're not one. And that's a cool feeling. So, the truth is, me making my 4th video for my channel, for my running channel, I feel very out of sorts. Who am I to give advice and all that? But, I would say this is the advice that I wish I could hear more often on a running channel. And so it's good to document the journey. It's also running gives you a natural story arc to work towards. There's something at the end of the whole trajectory where you're just where you're working towards something, an event that's 3 months out, 4 months out. And it's cool to document the process, maybe share your journey on Instagram, share what you're working towards, and it holds you accountable to the training and accountable to the work ahead of you. So those are my 10 tips on how to become a highly successful marathoner. And thank you for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.